everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Clarity Comes Later. I don't want to say who I am anymore. It feels weird. Like, hey, I'm Natalie. The people who know. Do I have to keep reintroducing myself every week? I don't think so. Just a quick check-in. So I actually recorded a full episode yesterday. I was on the couch. It was a very cute setup, but I just was not feeling it. I feel like I can only record if I'm really feeling like I'm that bitch. And if I'm not feeling bitchy, then I don't want to record, because how am I going to deliver the message properly? My energy was murky, to say the least. And I just didn't want to record like that. You know, I wanted to record when I was feeling light and ready to talk my shit. So we're back. Bad bitch in full effect. Okay, so today's episode, let's just dive right in. You know, I'm not good with the small talk. Let's just get straight to the shits. Today, I want to talk about friendships. And I want to start with this take, which is a take that I don't think a lot of us realize that we do this. And the reason why I say that is because if you are tuned into this right now, you are a person who is dedicated to your growth, to your journey of becoming a better person, of self-actualization, self-awareness, healing, so you can be the highest version of yourself. And I think when you're on that journey, sometimes your ego gets in the way, right? Because when you're vibrating high, like in the beginning, I was talking my shit. I'm that bitch. Bad bitch is back. Bad bitch in full effect. It comes off as very egotistical. But when you're actually doing the work and a lot of your trauma gets revealed to you and you work through it and you overcome it, or you at least develop strategies towards overcoming it, you get an air of confidence and a little bit of arrogance. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I think we need to address it, acknowledge it, and just check it every now and then. And I think that when it comes to friendships, a lot of our growth kind of gets projected onto people, and it can come off very self-absorbed. And it shows a lot when you cut people off. Now, if you are becoming a better person, I'm sure you've cut people off already. Like, I don't even think I need to ask you that. I feel like you'll be like, yeah, absolutely. I've cut mad people off. And same. But I had to really sit with myself this past year and get into why I cut them off. And if it was even really something that was worth cutting them off for. Was I too hasty? Was I too quick to judge? Did I cut a lot of people off because of my own ego and me thinking that I'm better than them? Yes to all of it. Sometimes you're not in alignment with people, but sometimes you're actually really judging people, or they trigger parts of you that you want nothing to do with, and you just don't want to be around them. It really has nothing to do with alignment. It really has nothing to do with your journey of becoming a better person. Deep down, you're really judging them. Deep down, you probably think you're better than them. So if anything that I'm saying sounds like, what are you talking about? I don't judge people. I would never do that. I'm so empathetic and compassionate and understanding. Okay, let's see. By the end of the episode, you can tell me. All right? So let's get into it. I have my notes. So like I said, sometimes we think that when we're cutting people off, it's because they're stuck in their bullshit and we're evolving above it. Sometimes someone isn't evolving with me. I be out. I don't have time to be going back and forth with you. I don't have time to shell out advice that you're not going to take. I'm over it. But growth doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone. All it means is that I'm very clear on where I'm going. And that doesn't mean that I need to drag people along with me. I have definitely judged most of my friends for their bullshit. I remember I had a friend that claimed she wanted a healthy relationship so badly. Like, she couldn't wait to have her forever partner. And then when she finally had a good man, she was cheating on that man with her ex. If you're not happy with this new dude, then why don't you just leave him and go back to your ex? And it was like, no, but he's a good guy and at least he's taking me seriously. Yeah, but you're not taking him seriously. So like, what are we doing? I've had other friends who are very aware of where their trauma comes from when it comes to dating, right? Oh, I have daddy issues. My dad abandoned me. My mother never gave me a healthy example of love. And it's like, listen, I hear you. We all have our shit. But for me, it's like when you're well in your 30s and you're fully aware of where your trauma comes from, you're able to identify it. But instead of doing what you need to do in order to heal from it, you continue to use that as an excuse for your fuckery. It's like, girl, what are we actually talking about right now? That is not self-awareness. that is you knowing better and not doing better. Like Jadakiss said, you are not a victim, you're a volunteer, boo-boo. Sometimes in friendships like that, it's hard for me because I am doing the work. I am trying to elevate my life. So when I see my friends stuck in these cycles that are unhealthy, it's like, yeah, I'm judging. And yeah, I don't want to be around this. And when it comes to judging our friends in this way, it creates a lot of distance between us. And I think that we purposely use judgment as a way to create distance between us because distance feels safe. Distance feels comfortable, and you have control in that, right? Like, you can't control someone's actions, but you can control how often you spend time with them or speak to them. And sometimes we tend to push people away because they reflect the negative parts of ourselves that we don't want to face and we don't want to deal with. The same friend that was going through toxic cycles with men, not being faithful, and not really clear on what she wanted, because when she would have a good man, she wasn't really appreciating that man. I was literally doing the same thing. But the only thing is, I wasn't talking about it. So it's even easier to act like you have your shit together when you don't talk about the fuck shit that you've done. And that's just the reality of it. Let's put a light example, right? You ever been around somebody and they're very loud and self-absorbed or showy, and you just don't like them? Now, it's fine if you don't like people like that. I tend to not really like people like that either. But I know that at some point I didn't like people like that because I was uncomfortable in my skin. I didn't want attention drawn on me because I was not confident in who I was. And that's why I didn't like that person. We need to have those conversations with ourselves when we feel negative emotions towards someone, especially towards people that we barely even know. It's like, well, what about that person is stirring something up in you that is making you feel so uncomfortable and dislike them and you don't want to be around them? Why? Is it because you don't feel good about yourself? And the fact that you see that they feel good about themselves makes you feel insecure, makes you feel even less than you already think you are, which, by the way, you're not. But you may feel that way. So anyone that is vibrating high intimidates you and makes you feel some type of way. And we got to check that. Just have that conversation with yourself and keep it real with yourself. And I think sometimes it's through those conversations that you're able to become better, because you're like, you know what? Instead of hating on that person or being like, oh, I just don't like them, why don't you find things that you actually do like about them? That doesn't mean that you have to be their friend. It just means that you can say, you know what? I admire the way they're able to step in the room. Loud, cocky, conceited, confident, all the things. And they really don't give a fuck who's watching or who has what to say. I wish that I had that. You know what? I'm going to start building my own self-esteem and my own confidence. And I'm going to start doing things that empower me. So the next time I step into a room full of people, I can really feel like that bitch. And when I see someone else come in the room who's that bitch, instead of hating on her, we're going to be cool. She's not going to shake or move me in any way because I'm good with me. I'm solid with who I am. And that's really the mentality that we need to have moving forward. Even in our friendships where we're like, ooh, I don't really like the fact that she's weak when it comes to men. She's believing these lies from her man. And it's like, okay, you can have compassion for that, right? We can now practice some empathy for that because we've all been there. You're not going to sit here and act like you've never been dumb for a man or a woman if you're into women. Maybe it's not that your friend settled for a poor partner and that's why you don't want to deal with her anymore or be friends with her. Maybe you also settled in some aspect of your life, and seeing your friend settling in that specific situation triggers you and makes you cringe at yourself. And maybe that's why you don't want to be around her anymore. Sometimes your emotional intelligence is at a higher level, but the question is, do I need to feel above them to feel okay with who I'm becoming? Let's not talk about all the times that we fake grace, right? Like, oh, I'm just going to send them love, or they're going to learn eventually. Everybody has their own journey and they just have to figure it out on their own. And yes, that is very true. But you can say those things and also still think that bitch is dumb as hell. How many fucking times does she need to get hurt before she learns her lesson? Like, you can give love and light, but also be judging people behind the scenes. Let's not act like we're not doing it. We also need to recognize that that's not real growth. That's you taking your ego and wrapping it in some type of spiritual awakening. Part of your growth does not mean that you need to tolerate messiness just to show that you are compassionate, welcoming, and understanding. But it also doesn't mean that you take your boundaries and you turn it into a superiority complex. Real growth also looks like being able to wish people well without needing an applause for it afterward. When my ego creeps in these moments where I feel like I've cut people off and I get into this like, well, that's why she's in this situation and that's why I'm in this situation, right? Like, that's why she's struggling over there, but I'm over here and I'm good. Look at me, I'm chilling. My life is great. My life is amazing. And it's like, okay, yes, state your abundance. Name your blessings. Praise God for it all. But you have to acknowledge that that's a little bit of your ego that's creeping in. And all you have to do is acknowledge it and tell yourself, yes, that's my ego talking. However, I know that I'm not a narcissist and that I'm self-aware. And sometimes it really is just facts that I have done the work, but that doesn't mean I have to weaponize it or rub it in people's faces. My whole point is that you can't outgrow what you secretly judge. You're not healed if you need people to fail in order to feel like you've succeeded. Your elevation isn't real if it depends on comparison. So the next time you call someone stuck, really ask yourself, am I really growing? Or am I just hiding behind the title of growth because it's easier than being honest with myself?